Good day, my incredible, resilient sisters. I am beyond grateful to stand here with you today to talk about something that many of us have experienced, but not enough of us openly discuss imposter syndrome. It's a feeling that creeps in silently and suddenly, whispering lies about your worth, your capabilities, and your right to stand in the spaces you've earned. But today, we're going to tackle it head-on. We're going to talk about what imposter syndrome is, why it happens, and more importantly, how we can overcome it. This conversation is for every woman who has ever felt like she's not enough, who has doubted her own success, or who has questioned whether she truly belongs in the room. I want to remind you today you belong, you are enough, and you deserve to take up space. What is imposter syndrome? Let's start by defining imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that inner voice, that nagging doubt that tells you you're not as competent, intelligent, or qualified as others think you are. It's the fear that any minute now, someone is going to find you out to realize that you're not as skilled as they once believed. It can make us feel like frauds, even when we've worked hard to achieve success. It's the belief that any praise, any recognition, or any accomplishment is somehow undeserved. But here's the thing: imposter syndrome is not based on reality. It's a perception, a psychological phenomenon that causes high-achieving individuals to believe that they're not truly competent, despite clear evidence to the contrary. And guess what? You're not alone. Studies show that over 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their lives, and it's especially prevalent among women. Why imposter syndrome hits women hard now? Why does imposter syndrome hit women so hard? One of the reasons is that we live in a world that has historically undervalued women's contributions and potential. From a young age, many of us are socialized to doubt ourselves, to be modest, and to question our right to be ambitious. We're often told to stay humble, don't be too loud, and don't take up too much space. So when we do succeed, it can feel like we're going against the grain, like we're doing something wrong, even when we're doing everything right. On top of that, many of us work in environments where we are one of the few women in the room. We face gender biases, we have fewer role models, and we're often measured against different, sometimes harsher, standards. These pressures can make it easy to internalize the message that we don't belong, or that we're not as capable as our male counterparts. But today, we're going to challenge that. Recognizing the lies of imposter syndrome, one of the first steps to overcoming imposter syndrome is recognizing it for what it is: a lie. Imposter syndrome thrives in silence. It feeds off of self-doubt and isolation. But when we bring it into the light and speak its name, we take away some of its power. We begin to see that those feelings of inadequacy aren't grounded in reality, but in fear. Fear of being judged, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of not living up to impossible expectations. But let me tell you something: you are not a fraud. Your successes are not a mistake. You are not just lucky, you are capable. You have worked hard to get to where you are, and no amount of fear can change the truth of that. Owning your achievements. The next step in overcoming imposter syndrome is learning to own your achievements. How many times have you dismissed a compliment with, "Oh, it was nothing," or downplayed your role in a project by saying, "It was a team effort"? How often have you attributed your success to external factors like luck, timing, or someone else's help, rather than acknowledging your own talent and hard work? Women are often taught to be modest, but there is a difference between humility and self-denial. You can be humble while still owning your success. You can be proud without being boastful. It's time to stop deflecting and start accepting the truth: you are good at what you do. You deserve to be where you are. You are the reason for your success. The next time someone compliments you, try this: simply say, "Thank you." Don't diminish it. Don't brush it off. Receive it fully. And more importantly, give yourself the internal recognition you deserve. Celebrate your wins, however small or large they may be. Take a moment to reflect on the effort, the dedication, and the skills that got you there. You earned it. Silencing the inner critic. Imposter syndrome often stems from a harsh inner critic. You know that voice, the one that tells you, you're not smart enough, you're not experienced enough, or you don't deserve this. We all have that voice, but the trick is learning how to manage it, how to quiet it, and how to replace it with a more supportive narrative. When your inner critic starts to speak, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this thought based on fact, or is it just fear talking? Look for evidence that counters that negative thought. For example, if your inner critic says you don't belong here, remind yourself of the qualifications, the experience, and the successes that prove otherwise. And remember, you are not your thoughts. Just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it's true. You have the power to choose which thoughts you believe and which ones you let go of. Building a support network. Another powerful way to overcome imposter syndrome is by building a strong support network. Surround yourself with people who see your worth and remind you of it when you forget. Find mentors, allies, and friends who will celebrate your successes and encourage you when you're doubting yourself. One of the most healing things we can do is share our struggles with others. When you confide in someone you trust about your feelings of inadequacy, you'll often find that they've felt the same way at some point. Knowing that you're not alone in your struggles can be incredibly freeing. It breaks the silence, and in that shared vulnerability, imposter syndrome begins to lose its grip. Reframe failure and success. Finally, let's talk about failure, because fear of failure is one of the biggest drivers of imposter syndrome. But what if we redefined failure? What if, instead of seeing it as proof of our inadequacy, we saw it as proof that we're trying, learning, and growing? Every successful person you admire has failed at something, probably multiple times. But what sets them apart is not their avoidance of failure, but their willingness to persevere in spite of it. Failure is not a reflection of your worth. It's simply a part of the process. And the same goes for success. Success does not mean you've figured everything out. Success does not mean you're perfect or infallible. Success means you've taken action, made progress, and are moving forward, sometimes with uncertainty, sometimes with mistakes, but always with courage. Closing thoughts as we come to a close. I want to leave you with a few final thoughts. Imposter syndrome is something that many of us will face throughout our lives, but it does not define us. It does not determine our worth or our potential. You are not an imposter. You are a woman of strength, resilience, and endless capability. When those feelings of self-doubt creep in, and they will, I want you to remember this: you have earned your place. You are not here by accident. You are here because you are capable, talented, and deserving. You have something unique to offer this world that no one else can. So the next time you walk into that boardroom, that classroom, that interview, or that new opportunity, walk in with your head held high. Know that you belong. Own your worth. And if you ever forget, remind yourself of this: you are enough. You have always been enough, and you always will be. Thank you. Let's go out and claim what's already ours: our power, our success, and our place in the world. Please like to confirm the impact we're making. Share to invite others to join the movement, and subscribe to become a part of our supportive community, where women uplift women. Empower her mind, igniting your inner strength.